my beloved child, there are days when you think you are merely tired, merely in need of rest, merely passing through an ordinary quiet season, like anyone else. But I know the deeper thing that is moving within you. It is not only that your body is weary, nor only that your mind is too full of the cares of this life. It is that your soul is beginning to recognize that it was not created to live inside a form too small for the calling I have placed within it. You may learn to reassure yourself. You may tell yourself that everything will be all right. You may smile before others as though nothing inside you is cracked. Yet in the deepest hidden place, you still hear a quiet call. That call does not come to condemn you, but to awaken you. As I spoke through the prophet Isaiah, I have called you by your name. You are mine, Isaiah 4:3-1. When a soul that belongs to me tries to live as though it belongs only to the standards of the world, it cannot fully rest because within it there remains the imprint of heaven. I do not blame you for the times you withdrew into yourself. I understand the seasons that taught you to protect yourself, the wounds that made you afraid to reveal what is true, the disappointments that made you think it would be better not to hope too much. But my beloved child, do not mistake self-defense for peace, and do not call the numbness within your heart maturity. There is a calm that comes from faith, but there is also a silence that comes from a soul too weary to speak. I am drawing near to you in that very place, not to break you, but to gently touch the parts of you that you have hidden for far too long. A bruised reed he will not break, and a faintly burning wick he will not quench. Isaiah 42:3. Do you see? I do not treat your tenderness as something shameful. I see in it a place that needs to be healed, upheld, and made bright again by my love. Perhaps you have lived many days like a lamp covered over, still carrying light but not daring to shine, still carrying fire but pressed down beneath layers of fear, duty, and compromise. You thought you were keeping yourself safe, but in truth, your soul has been aching because it has not been allowed to live according to what I have sown within it. I have said, you are the light of the world, nor do people light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on a stand, and it gives light to all in the house. Matthew 5:4-15. The light within you is not arrogance, not a desire to be noticed, not the noise of the ego. That light is the life I have placed in you, so that you may love more purely, walk more courageously, speak the truth more gently, and become a witness that grace can make a weary soul radiant again. Remember Jonah, my beloved child. He heard my call, but because of fear, resistance, and an unwillingness to step into what exceeded his own will, he went down into a ship to flee from my presence. But the farther he ran, the farther he descended down to Joppa, down into the ship, down into the heart of the sea, and then down into the belly of the fish. That is the image of a soul trying to move against the holy calling within it. I did not leave Jonah in that deep place, even in the belly of the fish, where it seemed like the end. Prayer arose, and I opened a way for him to return. So it is with you. The seasons in which you thought you had been swallowed by silence, by wrong choices, by delay, or by fear are not necessarily the final mark. Many times, that is the very place where I cause you to awaken. And remember that you were not made to run from the light, but to walk with me in that light. Therefore, do not regard your deep inner unease as an enemy. There are forms of unrest that are the bell of the soul reminding you that you are living far from the true water. When you try to fill the emptiness with busyness, achievements, praise, or connections that do not nourish life, that emptiness remains not to torment you, but to guide you back. As is written, my soul thirsts for God, for the living God. Psalm 42:8-2. You cannot satisfy a spiritual thirst with things that only touch the surface. I do not want you merely to appear all right. I want you to be truly restored. I do not want you merely to survive the day. I want you to live in fullness, in integrity, in the freedom of one who knows they are loved and called. I do not see you as the world sees you. The world looks at appearance, results, speed, prominence, and the things you can prove. But I look at your heart, where there are tears no one else has known, prayers that never became words, and the moments when you wanted to give up, but still tried to take one more step. When Samuel looked at the sons of Jesse, he thought the tall, strong, outwardly worthy one would be chosen. But I said, man looks at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. And once in Samuel 16:7, and I chose David, a shepherd still out in the field, one who had not been called to the family table, yet within him there was a song. There was worship. There was a hidden flame. My beloved child, I also see those hidden parts within you. I see what others overlook. I see the light that has not yet been named. I see the version of you that was appointed in grace before you were brave enough to believe in it. So do not continue living as though you must hide every crack in order to be loved by me. In the very place you think is weakest, I can cause life to flow. An earthen vessel can carry treasure so that the surpassing power may belong to me and not to you. As it is written, we have this treasure in jars of clay to show that this all-surpassing power is from God. 2 Corinthians 4:7. You do not need to become perfect before I can use you. You need to let me enter the places you have locked away. You need to allow my light to shine through the cracks you once felt ashamed of. For sometimes the very crack that has been healed becomes the place where others see my mercy most clearly. Today I am not calling you back with the thunder of threat, but with the whisper of love. Stop calling your shrinking humility if it is truly fear. Stop calling numbness peace if it is truly a soul that has been starved for too long. Let me rekindle within you a pure longing, a gentle courage, and the faith that you can still live differently, brighter, truer, freer. Arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord has risen upon you. Isaiah 67:1. I am not telling you to rise so you can prove that you are strong. I am telling you to rise because I am lifting you. I am not calling you out of darkness so you may be exposed in shame, but so you may step into the place where love heals, reorders, and transforms into light everything that was once hidden. For you are my child, not a soul forgotten in the empty spaces of your life. What you are feeling is not a sign that you have lost the way, but a sign that I am calling you back to the true path. That dissonance will no longer rule over you when you allow your heart to come back into rhythm with mine. Draw near to me in truth, without decorating your pain, without making your weariness look beautiful, without pretending that you are better than you truly are. I am gentle enough to hold your truth and powerful enough to make it new. The light within you has not gone out, my beloved child. It is waiting for my breath, and when I breathe upon it, what once only smoldered will blaze again, not to burn you, but to light the way as you enter the life I prepared beforehand for you in the peace, hope, and glory of my love. My beloved child, before you hastily assume that every stirring in your heart is a sign of failure, I want you to pause and listen with a softer spirit. Not every call that touches you comes to accuse you. Not every feeling of unrest is a sentence against you. There are moments when I allow your heart to tremble, not because I want you to bow your head in shame, but because I am gently awakening the holy thing that has slept within you for far too long. True love does not always merely comfort you, so you can remain where you are. Sometimes love comes like the morning light, breaking through the curtains, dazzling your eyes for a moment, yet that very light announces that the long night no longer has the right to hold you. As it is written, "Awake, O sleeper, and arise from the dead, and Christ will shine on you." Ephesians 5:14. I am not calling you because I have grown weary of you. I am calling you because I still see abundant life waiting to be opened within you. A life that does not merely breathe through the day, but knows how to love, how to hope, how to burn brightly, and how to walk in the truth. Perhaps you have grown accustomed to living as one who is still present, when in truth, only a small part of you is truly awake. You still work, still converse, still fulfill what others expect of you, still answer that you are fine when someone asks how you are. But in the hidden place, there is a room within your heart whose light has long been turned off. I see that room. I see the emotions you have locked away because you feared being heard again. I see the dreams you placed into silence because you feared that if you spoke them aloud, they would once more be taken lightly. I see the prayers that once burned with fire, but slowly became hesitant, not because you no longer believe, but because you have grown weary after many seasons of waiting. But my beloved child, your soul was not created to operate like a machine that only knows how to endure. It was created to live in communion with me, to feel truth, to be nourished by peace, to tremble before beauty, and to recognize the voice of its Father. Amid the noise of this life, I came that they may have life and have it abundantly. John 10:10. The life I give is not a dry existence, but a stream of living water that can soften even the cracked places within you. Therefore, when your heart suddenly sinks in the middle of what seemed like an ordinary day, do not be quick to call it weakness. When you find that you no longer rejoice in the things that once stirred you, do not hastily conclude that you have lost your way. Sometimes it is a sign that I am changing the appetite of your soul, causing you no longer to be satisfied with things that only fill the surface, but cannot nourish the depths. One who has been called to the table of grace cannot forever live on the crumbs that fall from the table of fear. A heart that is once tasted my presence cannot be completely at peace in places where there is only noise and no life. As David said, my soul thirsts for God, for the living God. Psalm 42:2. That thirst is not a punishment. It is evidence. Within you there still remains the capacity to recognize the true water. I want you to remember Elijah, the servant who once stood before the people and saw fire fall from heaven, yet afterward ran into the wilderness in fear, so exhausted that he asked to die. Do you see? Even one who had witnessed my power had moments of depletion. Moments when he believed he was alone. Moments when he no longer had the strength to explain what was happening in his heart. But I did not come to Elijah with heavy rebuke. I gave him bread, gave him water, gave him rest, and then led him to Mount Horeb to hear my voice. Not in the great wind, not in the earthquake, not in the fire, but in a gentle, quiet whisper. 1 Kings 19:11-12. My beloved child, there are seasons when I do not awaken you through violent shaking, but through a whisper deep enough to touch the place you have not dared to listen to for a long time. I do not despise your weariness. I know that sometimes the soul must be nourished again before it can rise and continue walking. So do not be afraid of the moments when you feel as though something within you is being called by name. That is not me exposing you, so you will be ashamed before yourself. It is me opening the door so that light may enter the place where darkness has remained so long that you began to think it was normal. Many things you call fine are actually familiarity with lack. Many things you call strength are actually the ability to suffer in silence. Many things you call maturity are actually a heart that has learned not to expect anymore in order to avoid disappointment. But I do not want you to exchange the aliveness of your soul for an outward appearance that seems unmoved. I have spoken. I will give you a new heart and put a new spirit within you. I will remove from you your heart of stone and give you a heart of flesh. Ezekiel 36:26. I do not come merely to repair your outward appearance. I come to make your heart able to feel again in a way that is pure, courageous, and whole. At times you think that feeling deeply is dangerous, because to feel deeply means you can be wounded deeply. But my beloved child, do not let old wounds teach you to despise the gift I placed within you. A tender heart is not a weak heart. Tenderness placed in my hands becomes the very place where the gentlest power is revealed. Christ wept before the tomb of Lazarus, not because he lacked the power to call the dead back to life, but because true love is not numb before human pain. And then from that place of tears, the call of resurrection rang out, Lazarus, come out. John 11:43. Do you see? I do not need you to become cold in order to become strong. I can cause resurrection to come forth from the very place where you have wept the most. Let me teach you to distinguish between the accusation of darkness and the awakening of grace. Darkness says that you are too late, too broken, too far gone, too weary to begin again. Grace says that you are still called, still being lifted, still able to return. Darkness pushes you into despair after showing you your wound. Grace touches the wound and then opens a path of healing. Darkness causes you to hide from me. Grace causes you to run toward me, because you know that in me there is mercy greater than everything you have not yet fulfilled. Therefore, there is now no condemnation for those who are in Christ Jesus. Romans 8:1. When I call you to awaken, that call does not carry the chains of condemnation, but the key of freedom. And because I love you, I will not let you remain in a life that is only enough to keep you from collapsing. Please know that every seed you plant in this mission will grow into a torch that shines in someone else's darkness. Giving to this work through the link in the description or the pinned comment, whether by buying a coffee, making a donation, or becoming a member of our Ko-Fi community, does not go to a channel. Your actions are supporting a divine mission to save lost souls. Heaven moves through willing voices, but it grows through hearts that are kind. This is what I say over you now. Each gift you give is like a stream of living water that flows into the life of someone who needs healing. Give, and it will be given to you is not just a verse for Jesus. It is a living promise that shapes your future. Allow me to invite you now with a simple act of faith. Come into this moment with purpose, with honesty, and with hope. The money you give today is not a donation. The act of spiritual obedience that lets your heavens open is what opens them. Let go of your seed and see what God brings back into your life. I did not create you to live quietly like a covered lamp, nor did I form your soul to revolve only around responsibility without holy joy. I want you to return to a life of depth, where you know how to pray not as a duty, but as breath. How to love not from exhaustion, but from fullness. How to work not merely to prove your worth, but to reflect faithfulness. How to rest not in the sin of escape, but in the peace of one kept by the Father. As it is written, in your presence there is fullness of joy. At your right hand are pleasures forevermore. Psalm 16:11. The joy I give is not shallow, not noisy, not dependent on everything being perfect. It is a joy that grows from the root of knowing that you are not abandoned. Therefore, today, when I touch the deepest place within you, do not close the door. When the light makes you see the parts that have grown cold, do not be afraid. When your heart begins to ache, because you realize you have been living far from true life, understand that this is the beginning of returning. I do not stand before you with stones in my hand. I stand before you with arms wide open. I do not call you in order to make you shrink under guilt, but to lift you up in truth. Wake up, my beloved child, not in panic, but in peace. Rise, not by your own strength, but by the grace that is upholding you from within. Let Christ shine upon the regions you have left in darkness for far too long, and you will see what I am awakening is not old pain, but new life waiting to blaze forth. You were not created merely to exist. You were created to live abundantly in me, to become tender without being weak, strong without becoming hardened, humble yet still radiant and free in my love that never lets go. My beloved child, there is a truth I want to place deep within your heart today. You have not disappeared in the seasons when you thought you had lost yourself. You have not been destroyed by the days of weakness, nor defined by the times you lost your way, nor erased from what I wrote in love from the very beginning. Though there were moments when you bowed your head, moments when you walked the wrong path, moments when you allowed fear to lead you into narrow places of darkness, I still saw you there, not as a lost soul, but as a child being called home. The beautiful things I placed within you have not died. Your tenderness has not gone out. The light within you has not been swallowed by darkness. The purity, hope, capacity to love, and holy calling within you are only lying beneath layers of dust from wounds, waiting for my hand to brush them clean and awaken them again. As it is written, though the righteous fall 7 times, they rise again. Proverbs 20:41-16. Do you see? I did not say that the righteous never fall. I said they are not left in their fall. What defines you is not that you have never stumbled, but that grace still lifts you every time you think you no longer have the strength to stand. Perhaps you once believed that after a certain number of failures, you would no longer be whole. After a certain number of delays, you would no longer be worthy. After certain seasons of silence, I would stop calling your name. But my beloved child, I do not love you with a love as fragile as the human heart. I do not withdraw my promise simply because you have had days of weakness. I do not close the door simply because you once stood outside for too long. I am the one who said, I have loved you with an everlasting love. Therefore, I have drawn you with loving kindness. Jeremiah 30:1-3. That very loving kindness is drawing you now, not with chains of fear, but with the gentle chords of life. When you feel within your heart an urging to return, to rise, to face the truth, do not think it is the voice of condemnation. It is the voice of the Father calling you from a far place back to the table. It is the sign that you still belong to me, that your soul still recognizes the sound of its origin. I saw the moment you stopped running. Perhaps no one else saw it, because outwardly, you still looked the same as every other day. You still walked, still worked, still remained silent, still kept deep things within your heart. But I saw the moment something inside you quietly turned direction, when you no longer wanted to pretend anymore, when you no longer wanted to call darkness a refuge, when you no longer wanted to live far from the true life I had prepared for you. That was a very holy moment. Even though it was not loud, heaven knows the value of a soul turning its face toward the light. I do not despise a small step, because I know there are small steps taken after many years of trembling. The Lord makes firm the steps of the righteous. He delights in their way. Though they fall, they will not be cast down, for the Lord upholds them with his hand. Psalm 37:23-24. You are not standing firm by yourself, my beloved child. My hand is beneath the very steps you think are weakest. Remember Peter on the night he denied his teacher. He had once spoken boldly, saying that even if everyone else abandoned the Lord, he would not. But when the darkness of fear covered him, he denied the one he loved 3 times. The rooster crowed and his heart broke open in tears. If the story had ended there, Peter might have imprisoned himself in the identity of a failure. But I did not allow the sound of denial to become the final word over his life. After the resurrection, Christ did not come to shame him before his old wound. He came to him by the shore, made a fire, prepared bread and fish, and asked him in love, "Do you love me?" John 21:15-1:17. 3 times he had denied, and 3 times love opened the way for him to be restored. Do you see? I do not only forgive, I also entrust the mission again. I do not only erase the mistake, I also call the goodness buried within you to rise once more. If Peter could step out of the night of denial and become a shepherd of the flock, then you too can step out of the seasons that have passed and receive again the living portion I never took away from you. Therefore, do not think that a new beginning always comes as a great event that makes everyone take notice. Many times a new beginning starts very quietly, like the first breath after a long cry, like a thin line of light on the edge of the sky, before dawn truly breaks forth. The door I open for you does not necessarily appear with thunder, with glorious signs, or with an immediate change in outward circumstances. Sometimes it opens right within your heart, when you decide that you will no longer agree with paralysis, no longer treat fear as your master, no longer allow the past to speak in my place about your future. As it is written, "Behold, I have set before you an open door which no one is able to shut." Revelation 38. That door is not only before you, it is also opening within the very rhythm of your still beating heart, within the small flame that is not yet gone out, within the very quiet prayer you thought, "I did not hear." I want you to understand that true life does not have to be loud in order to be real. Do not despise the hidden movements of your soul. A seed planted in the soil does not make a thunderous sound when it begins to sprout. It quietly splits open in the darkness, then pushes a young shoot up from the earth by a strength no one can see. So it is with you. There are parts of you coming back to life before your circumstances have had time to change. There are new roots growing deep before leaves and branches appear. There are things I am doing in the secret place, and if you only look for outward applause, you may miss the miracle being born in silence. For we walk by faith, not by sight. 2 Corinthians 5:7. Faith does not despise small things. Faith knows that one trembling step toward me can be the beginning of an entire journey of resurrection. Perhaps you have thought resurrection is only for things that have died completely, but I tell you, resurrection also comes to souls that have grown cold, hearts that have become weary, faith that is lain still beneath the ashes, and holy dreams covered over by disappointment. When Christ said, "I am the resurrection and the life. Whoever believes in me, though he die, yet shall he live." John 11:25. That was not only a promise for the final day, but also a power that can touch your today. I can make a heart that has become numb to tremble again. I can cause a soul accustomed to hiding to stand once more in the light. I can bring back the things you thought were lost in a form more mature, purer, deeper, and more enduring. What I restore does not always look exactly like what came before. Many times I return to you, a version refined by fire, cleansed of illusion, anchored in truth, and covered with peace. My beloved child, what I am placing in your hands today is not a warning meant to make you tremble with fear, but an invitation to step across the threshold, move forward. Even if it is only one step, speak honestly with me. Even if your words are still clumsy, open your heart. Even if you are still afraid, let me touch the place you have avoided for far too long. Do not wait for every fear to disappear before you return, because often fear dissolves along the very journey you walk with me. Do not wait until you feel strong before you rise, because true strength does not come from forcing yourself not to be weak. It comes from allowing me to lift you when you are weak. My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. 2 Corinthians 12:9. I do not require you to step through that door with the appearance of perfection. I only want you to step through it with the faith that I am there. Therefore, lift up your head with gentleness, not in pride, but in the certainty that you are still loved. The good things within you do not belong to some distant past. They are still waiting to be awakened in the present. The light you thought had run out is still smoldering. The heart you thought had lost its way can still recognize my voice, and in the very place you once thought was the end, I am setting an opening that no one has the right to close. Draw near to me, my child. Let your breath come back into rhythm with the life of grace. Let every heartbeat remind you that I am not finished with you yet. You were not created to remain lost forever. You were created to be found, restored, guided, and brought into true life. From today on, do not call yourself someone who has lost everything. Call yourself someone being rebuilt by me. Do not call your small step insignificant. Call it the first footprint on the road home. And I, your Father, will walk with you through that door until what once grew cold within you burns again, and you know with your whole soul that my life is still full, still calling, still making you new day by day. My beloved child, I have seen more than you ever dared to admit to yourself. I saw the times when the truth stood right at your throat, but you swallowed it down because you feared displeasing others. I saw the moments when you knew you needed to remain with what was right to protect what was good, to stay faithful to the voice within your heart Yet you turned away because you were tired, because you were afraid, because you had grown used to choosing the path with fewer collisions. I also saw the smiles you wore among the crowd. Smiles enough to make others think you were fine, but not enough to hide from my eyes the deep emptiness within. But hear me clearly, my child. I do not look at you with contempt. I do not stand before your life as a judge, waiting only to record the times your heart was weak. I look at you with the patience of a father who knows well the wounds that have formed across many seasons, and who also knows that true restoration must be nurtured in grace. It cannot be forced to bloom by fear. As it is written, a bruised reed he will not break, and a smoldering wick he will not quench. Isaiah 42:9-3. You are not a reed discarded because it has bent. You are not a lamp rejected because its flame has grown weak. You are being sheltered by me from the fierce wind, until what still smolders within you can burn brightly again. At times you blame yourself for having remained silent too long, for having compromised too much, for not having been courageous sooner. But I want you to distinguish between repentance that leads to life and accusation that drags you into despair. Repentance is the light that helps you see the way home. Accusation is the darkness that says there is no way left for you. I am not calling you so that you may beat your own soul with cruel words. I am calling you so that you may awaken, rise and move toward the truth in love. Godly sorrow brings repentance that leads to salvation and leaves no regret. 2 Corinthians 7:10. Therefore, when you recognize the things you have avoided, do not let that awareness become a chain. Let it become a bell of awakening. Let it tell you that you are still alive, still able to hear the voice of conscience, still able to return to what is pure, braver, and truer. I want you to remember the son who left his father's house, carrying his inheritance, and imagining that freedom meant going far from the love that had raised him. He squandered, lost his dignity, and fell so far into lack that he longed for the food of the pigs. But the miracle did not begin when he had become clean, strong, or able to prove that he had changed. The miracle began when he came to himself and said within his heart that he would return to his father's house. Luke 15:17-24. Do you see the moment of awakening is not the most shameful moment? It is the turning point of grace. And while he was still far away, the Father ran to him, embraced him, kissed him, clothed him with a new robe, placed a ring on his hand, and put sandals on his feet. The Father did not wait for him to finish presenting the indictment of his life before showing mercy. Love ran ahead of explanation. So it is with you, my beloved child, when you realize you have gone far from what I desire for you. That is not proof that you are out of hope. It is proof that the road home is opening before your eyes. But I also want you to understand that returning is not always one great leap that changes everything in a single day. Do not place upon your shoulders the burden of having to be healed immediately, to be courageous immediately, to become steady immediately. The world loves speed, loves visible results, loves transformations that can be told as a beautiful story in just a few words. But I work more deeply. Like a gardener tending the roots before looking for flowers. True healing does not merely correct the outward expression. It descends into the places where you once learned to fear. Learn to remain silent. Learn to smile while your heart was empty. I am not in a hurry with your soul. I patiently teach you one rhythm at a time. Today you stop avoiding one small truth. Tomorrow you dare to name one pain. Then you learn to say no to what makes you shrink. Then you learn to say yes to the light I have set before you. The path of the righteous is like the light of dawn, which shines brighter and brighter until full day. Proverbs 4:18. Dawn does not burst into noon in a single second, yet it is still steadily overcoming the darkness. Remember Moses, my beloved child. When I called him from the burning bush, he did not step forward as a completely confident man. He carried memories of failure, of fleeing from Egypt, and the feeling that he did not have enough words, enough ability, or enough worthiness. He said that he was slow of speech. Is he done? And did not know how he could face Pharaoh. But I did not cancel the calling because he trembled. I said, I will be with you. Exodus 3:12. And my presence, not Moses' perfection, became the foundation for the journey of deliverance. You may have been silent in the past, but that does not mean your voice has been taken from you forever. You may have turned away in one season, but that does not mean you cannot return and stand firm in the next. I am not looking for a child who has never been afraid. As this awakening grows inside you, know that helping with this mission is not a joke. It is a sign from God. You can support this work through the link in the description or the pinned comment, whether by buying a coffee, making a donation, or becoming a member of our Ko-Fi community. By doing so, you become part of Jesus' plan to save souls who are still stuck in fog. Every seed turns into light that fights against darkness. If you water others, you will be watered yourself, Jesus says. This is not history. It is a living promise about your future. Come into this moment with faith and a plan. What God has already planned for your life can be unlocked through your giving. I am lifting a child who trembles and yet is learning to obey. And as you begin to step into that process, you will have to learn forgiveness, not only toward those who hurt you, but also toward yourself. There are people you have forgiven with your mouth, yet in your heart, you still carry them like a stone. There are also mistakes of your own that you keep repeating to yourself, as though punishing yourself were the only way to prove you are truly sorry. But I do not ask you to live forever under the punishment that Christ is already borne. Forgiveness does not mean denying what happened, does not mean calling wrong right, does not mean returning to what is toxic. Forgiveness is placing the final judgment into my hands, so that your soul is no longer tied to the wound, as though to a sorrowful altar. Be kind and compassionate to one another, forgiving one another, just as God forgave you in Christ. Ephesians 4:32. When you receive forgiveness from me, you will gradually gain the strength to loosen your grip from the chains the past has used to pull you backward. I know there are memories that will not disappear simply because you prayed once. There are defensive habits that do not dissolve instantly, just because you want to live differently. But every time you choose the light, every time you pause before running away, every time you speak the truth, even while your voice trembles, every time you face what you once hid, a part of you is being rebuilt. Do not despise small but sincere decisions. A wall is built stone by stone. A life is healed step by step in obedience. A heart is softened again each time it allows me to touch it instead of locking itself shut. As it is written, do not despise the day of small beginnings. Zechariah 40:10. What is small in my hands is never meaningless. One honest prayer can open a new season. One decision not to return to the old path can break an entire chain of long, standing bondage. Therefore, my beloved child, be gentle with yourself. But do not keep lulling yourself to sleep. Be patient with the process, but do not use the process as an excuse to remain where you are. I do not condemn you, but neither do I want you to live beneath the life I paid the price to give you. Let me teach you to speak at the right time, to stay in the right place, to leave what must be left, and to open your heart in the right way. Let me fill the emptiness you have spent years trying to cover with laughter. Work, busyness, and the words, "I am fine," when they were not true. I am the one who heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds. Psalm 147:3. I do not merely see the cracks, I know how to pour oil into them. I do not merely hear your silence, I know how to call your voice back. So today, you do not need to run fast in order to prove that you have changed. You only need to turn your face toward me and take one true step. Begin with honesty. Tell me where you are tired, where you are afraid, where you have pretended, where you have allowed your heart to remain empty for too long. I will not break you in my hands. I will not quench what is still smoldering. I will breathe life into the fire that remains. I will teach you to stand without hating yourself. I will teach you to repent without despair. I will teach you to forgive without losing wisdom. I will teach you to love without betraying your own soul. And then day by day, you will realize you have not been rejected. You are being kept. You have not been abandoned in what is past. You are being let out. You are not only returning to the Father's house, you are returning to yourself in my light, where truth no longer frightens you, because that truth is fully held by mercy that never runs dry. My beloved child, there are things you once considered signs of failure. Yet in my eyes, they are proof that your soul is still alive. You have often blamed yourself for being tired, for being tender, for still carrying empty places you do not know how to name, for still having within you a quiet thirst that nothing outward can satisfy. But I want you to hear this with a peaceful heart. A soul that has gone completely numb no longer longs for light. A flame that is fully gone out no longer aches when the cold wind blows over it. A heart that is completely given up no longer wrestles with what it has lost. The very fact that you still feel the lack, still feel the ache, still long for something purer, deeper, and truer is a sign that I am still calling the life within you to rise. As it is written, "Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they shall be satisfied." Matthew 5:6. That thirst has not come to shame you, nor has it come to prove that you are ruined. It comes as a quiet current of guidance, leading you away from dry wells and back to the fountain that never runs dry. I know you have feared your own fragility. You thought that if others saw the wounds inside your heart, they would see you as weak, lacking faith, lacking steadiness, lacking the ability to keep going. So you learned to build walls, learned to speak less, learned to keep a calm outward appearance, learned to cover the places that still hurt with busyness and a gentle smile. But my child, a heart locked shut for too long does not only keep pain from entering, it also keeps my love, healing, and light from reaching it. You were not created to become a cold fortress. You were created to become a temple where my presence dwells, where the cracks are no longer something shameful, but become places where grace shines in. When the Apostle Paul heard me say, "My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness." 2 Corinthians 12:9. It did not mean weakness, is the place where you are abandoned. It means that in the very place where you cannot save yourself, you can recognize my hand most clearly. Remember the woman who had suffered from the flow of blood for 12 years. She had spent all she had endured much pain, been isolated by her condition, and lived on the margins of the community as one who could not touch anyone and whom no one wished to touch. Yet in that exhaustion, there was still a very small spark of longing within her. If only she could touch the garment of Christ, she would be made well. She did not come with the appearance of strength, nor did she enter the crowd as someone who possessed enough honor to be noticed. She came trembling, with quiet faith, with a heart that had suffered for far too long, but had not surrendered hope, and when she touched his garment, power flowed out. Healing came, and Christ did not allow her to disappear into shame. He called her daughter, and said that her faith had made her well. Mark 5:25-34. My beloved child, I see you in the same way. I do not only see your wound. I see the small faith still reaching through the crowd of fear to touch life. Therefore, do not despise the small movements within your heart. Perhaps today, you do not yet see yourself completely changed, but you have learned to pause before panic carries you away as it once did. Perhaps you cannot yet name peace, but one morning you wake and feel your heart a little lighter, as though an unseen hand had removed some of the stones from your chest. During the night, perhaps you have not walked very far, but you have not returned to the old path as quickly as before. These things are not accidental. They are signs of restoration, rising in the secret place. A young tree makes no sound when its roots take hold deep in the soil. Yet life is still at work. A small stream is not as loud as a great waterfall, yet it can still soften dry ground. I am leading you in this way, gently and faithfully. As the Good Shepherd in the Psalm has said, He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. Psalm 23:2. I do not drag you forward in haste. I lead you by the rhythm of peace. You once thought you had to become perfect before you could be loved, healed before you could be used, strong before you were allowed to step into what I had prepared. But I tell you, honesty opens the door to grace far more than false perfection ever could. I do not need you to bring me a soul dressed up in outward stability. I want you to bring me yourself with the things still unfinished, the questions still unanswered, the wounds still tender, and the desires still uncertain. The sacrifices of God are a broken spirit, a broken and contrite heart. O God, you will not despise. Psalm 51:17. You do not need to hide before the one who knows everything and still loves you. You do not need to play the part of being strong before the one who can cause dry bones to hear his word and live again. I want you to learn how to love again, but not with a kind of love that betrays your own soul, not the kind of love that forces you to deny your pain, swallow the truth, or lose your dignity just to preserve a connection. The love I teach you begins with truth, is guided by wisdom, is guarded by peace, and is nourished by mercy. A heart that has been wounded may fear opening again, but when that heart is placed in my hands, tenderness is no longer a danger. It becomes good soil for the seed of life. Perfect love casts out fear. John 40:18. You do not need to become hardened in order to be safe. You need to draw nearer to me, so that your gentleness will not be exploited, your sensitivity will not be dismissed, and your love will no longer flow from lack, but from my fullness. There are days when I heal you through very ordinary things. A quiet moment that no longer frightens you. A short but honest prayer. A tear that falls without shame. A decision to leave what does not nourish your soul. A moment when you choose rest instead of punishing yourself with overload. Do not think these things are too small to belong to a miracle. I often place life in humble forms so that only a listening heart can recognize it. A small mustard seed can grow into a tree. A few loaves and fish can feed a multitude. One plea, remember me, spoken on the cross, can open the door to paradise. Therefore, every small step you take in truth is precious before me. Do not despise the day of small beginnings. Zechariah 40:10. For small things in my hands can become the foundation of a life rebuilt. So, my beloved child, do not call your thirst a failure. Call it an invitation to return to the true water. Do not call your fragility something to hide. Bring it to me so that my power may make it a place where grace is revealed. Do not look down on the mornings when your heart feels a little lighter, the moments when you know how to pause, the days when you notice you are no longer being swept away by the old rhythm of life. I am working within you, not hastily, not harshly, not leaving the work unfinished. I am leading you step by step, breath by breath, heartbeat by heartbeat, so that you do not merely change your outward habits, but are transformed from the deepest roots within. And when you look back, you will understand that the places where you once felt weakest were not the places where I abandoned you. They were the very places where I bent down closest, placed my hand upon your soul, and whispered, "You are still alive, you are still loved, you are still being restored, and my water is still enough to refresh every dry region within you, my beloved child." There is something quietly growing within you, so gently that if you live too hurriedly, you may overlook it. It is not a loud explosion of miracle, nor a radiant sign that causes the whole world to stop and look. It is life returning to the places you once thought had grown cold. It is your ability to still hope after many seasons of weariness. It is the moment you realize you do not have to be perfect in order to keep walking. I want you to understand that in my eyes, the fact that you are still here, still wanting to return, still longing for the light, still lifting your heart, even through a very quiet prayer, is already a miracle unfolding. For faith does not always begin with a strong voice. Sometimes it begins with a trembling breath that refuses to let go of my hand, as it is written. Faith is the assurance of things hoped for, the conviction of things not seen. Hebrews 11:1. What you have not yet seen with your eyes, I am sowing by my Spirit what you have not yet touched with your hands. I am growing in the hidden depths of your soul. Do not despise the small faith that is still holding you. My beloved child, there are days when that faith does not look like a great fire, but only like a thin ray of light at the end of a tunnel. But one ray of light in my hands is still enough to lead a soul out of darkness. You once thought you had drifted too far, wandered too long, weakened too many times to ever return. But the very moment you began to believe that you could still come back, a door opened within your heart. I do not require you to understand everything before you step forward. I do not demand complete evidence before you are allowed to hope. I simply invite you to place one foot into trust, for we walk by faith, not by sight. 2 Corinthians 5:7. There are paths that only appear when you begin to walk. There are waters that only part when your feet have touched the edge of the sea. There are promises that only begin to shine when you stop standing still in fear and begin walking with me. Remember Abraham, the one who heard my voice calling him to leave his homeland, his relatives, and everything familiar, to go to a land he did not yet clearly know. He did not hold in his hands a complete map of the future, nor did he have visible evidence to explain to everyone why he dared to step forward. But he believed that the one who called him was faithful, and that very faith turned a quiet departure into the beginning of a great covenant. By faith, Abraham obeyed when he was called to go out to a place that he would receive as an inheritance. And he went out, not knowing where he was going. Hebrews 11:8. Do you see? I do not always show you the whole journey from the beginning, because I want you to learn that the deepest assurance is not found in your ability to control every stage of the road, but in the truth that I am walking with you. Faith is not denying what is still unclear. Faith is placing your heart in the one who knows all things. And when the light within you is kindled again, you will realize that it is not only for you. Just as one candle can light another without losing its own flame, your life will also become a place where others see hope. You do not need to wait until you are completely healed before you can bring gentleness to someone else. You do not need to tell a perfect story before you can bear witness to my mercy. Sometimes the honesty of a person who is still being healed becomes the warmest light for someone else who is cold. I have said you are the light of the world, Matthew 5:14. That light is not something you manufacture by your own strength, nor is it the glow of human prominence that people chase after. It is my life reflected through you. It is love that is passed through wounds without being made bitter by them. It is peace in the very days when you thought you had nothing left but storms. Perhaps you do not yet see yourself as shining. Perhaps you still look at the unfinished parts, the cracks that have not yet closed, the habits that have not yet been fully transformed, and you wonder how I could use a soul that is still learning to stand firm. But I want you to remember that I often place treasure in jars of clay, so that the power may belong to me and not to you. We have this treasure in jars of clay to show that the surpassing power belongs to God. 2 Corinthians 4:7. You do not need to hide the truth that you are still being rebuilt. That very humility makes the light within you purer. A person who knows they have received mercy will know how to show mercy to others. A person who has been lifted up will know how to bend down towards someone who is falling. A person who has passed through the night and still seen the dawn can whisper to another soul, do not give up, the light still remains. Therefore, keep walking, but do not walk as one being chased by guilt. Walk as one being led by grace. Cherish every small change, because I do not take lightly anything born in truth. When you choose peace instead of the old reaction, that is light. When you pray instead of sinking into despair, that is light. When you dare to speak the truth without wounding, dare to forgive without denying boundaries, dare to rest without condemning yourself, that is light. Each of these small things is joining together into a dawn within you. The path of the righteous is like the light of dawn, which shines brighter and brighter until full day. Proverbs 4:18. Dawn does not apologize because it is not yet noon. It simply continues to brighten according to the rhythm appointed for it. So do not despise yourself because you are not yet complete. Rejoice because you are coming back to life. I want you to understand that returning is not only the act of coming back to a place, it is the re-establishing of trust. You return when you believe that my love is still for you. You return when you believe that the past has no right to place the final seal upon your soul. You return when you believe that even though your eyes do not yet see the road, my hand can still lead you through the unknown. That faith does not need to be loud in order to be real. It may be as small as a mustard seed, but in my hands, that small thing can grow into shade for many. Christ said that if you have faith like a mustard seed, what seems impossible to move will no longer be the final limit. Matthew 17:20. Therefore, do not measure your faith by passing emotions. Today you feel strong, some days you feel weak. But true faith does not live by feeling alone. It is anchored in my faithful nature. Let me remind you of Ruth, the Moabitess woman who lost her husband, lost her security, and stood before an unclear future. She could have returned to what was familiar, could have chosen the easier road, could have left Naomi in order to save herself in the way humans understand. But in a holy moment, she chose to remain with faithfulness and step into an unknown land, saying, "Your people shall be my people, and your God my God." Ruth 1:16. She did not know that those quiet steps would lead to the field of bows, to the restoration of dignity, and to a lineage from which the Savior would come. My beloved child, there are quiet decisions of faith today that are connecting you to things greater than you can imagine. One small faithful step can open a new history in my hands. So when you feel the light returning, do not hold it back in fear. Let it first grow warm within you, and then naturally it will touch others. The light I place in you does not diminish when it is shared. It becomes purer when it moves through love. When you encourage someone who is exhausted with the gentle words you once needed to hear, that light grows when you live truthfully instead of performing perfection. That light becomes near and human when you choose hope in a world that easily falls into despair. That light becomes a quiet testimony. Let your light shine before others, so that they may see your good works and give glory to your Father who is in heaven. Matthew 5:16. You do not shine in order to be praised. You shine so that others may know that I still heal, still lead, and still turn ashes into beauty. Therefore, my child, keep walking with gentleness and courage. Do not wait until you no longer tremble before you step forward. Do not wait until every question is answered before you believe. Do not wait until you are perfect before allowing my light to pass through your life. I am doing something deeper than the outward appearance of change. I am restoring from the root the belief that you can still return, still live anew, still become a source of light for other souls without losing yourself. Every day you wake and choose not to give up. It is a quiet song before me. Every time you lift your heart, even before you see the result, it is a seed of faith. And I, your Father, will not let that seed die in the soil. You are about to enter your divine future. Remember that this message does not end with you. People can use your breakthrough to get where they need to go. Through the link in the description or the pinned comment, whether by buying a coffee, making a donation, or becoming a member of our Ko-Fi community, you can help this mission. By doing so, you are sowing into the awakening, deliverance, and restoration of souls who are still trapped in darkness. This is not poetry when Jesus says, "Give, and heaven will open over you." Every seed you plant turns into oil for your destiny. fire for your calling, and safety for your family. Now is your time, my child. Have faith, and as you do, watch God multiply what you let go of. I will water it with grace, shelter it with mercy, and cause it to grow in the time I have appointed. Then you will see what began as a small ray of light within your heart will become a guiding lamp, not only for you, but for those who need to know that they too can come home into my love that never runs dry. My beloved child, let your heart become still in this moment, because not every weighty thing comes with thunder across the sky or events that shake the earth. There are words I place before your soul very softly, like a breeze passing through an open door, so gentle that the hurried may overlook it, yet so deep that it is enough to turn an entire life around. I do not always awaken you through intensity. Many times I call you through stillness, through an inward knowing that the time has come when you can no longer delay, when you can no longer continue living between two streams, when you must choose what you truly belong to. There are doors in your life opened by my mercy, but my child, a door does not remain open forever in order to nourish hesitation. Time too is a grace, but that grace is not an endless land where you may continue avoiding the holy call. As it is written, my spirit shall not strive with man forever. Genesis 6. And this does not mean my love has diminished, but that I honor your choice, and every choice has its season, its threshold, and its moment when the soul must answer. I do not say this to make you afraid and panic, but to awaken within you a beautiful seriousness. For true love does not only comfort you when you are in pain. True love also reminds you when you are sleeping before the light. A compassionate father does not watch his child gradually walk toward a precipice and merely smile in silence. I call you, I remind you, I draw you with mercy because I know that delay can become so familiar a house that you forget you are imprisoned. At first you delay one prayer, then you delay one repentance, then you delay one right decision. Then you begin to grow accustomed to living incompletely, accustomed to knowing where the light is yet still not stepping into it. That is why my word says, today, if you hear his voice, do not harden your hearts. Hebrews 3:15. I say today, not to burden you with pressure, but to deliver you from the illusion that tomorrow is always within your grasp. My beloved child, hardness of heart rarely begins with a loud rebellion. It often begins with very small turnings away. One time you know what is right, but choose silence. One time you hear my voice, but tell yourself later. One time you feel the light touching a wound, yet pull the curtain down because you do not want to face it yet. Then little by little, what once pained you because you were far from me no longer pains you. What once caused your conscience to tremble gradually becomes normal. What once made you long to return slowly becomes covered by busyness, excuses, habits, and self-protection. My child, I do not want you to lose that holy sensitivity. Guard your heart above all else, for from it flow the springs of life. Proverbs 4:23. When your heart can still tremble before my voice, that is a gift. Do not take that gift lightly. Do not let today's call become a distant echo that tomorrow you no longer recognize. My beloved child, I want you to listen to this word, not with the hurried ears of the flesh, but with the deepest part of your soul, where I once kindled a flame that did not come from this world. You were not created to live small within the walls of fear, nor were you called to keep hiding what I placed within your heart as though it were something too fragile. when I placed light in you. I did not do so for you to put it under the basket of guilt, beneath the garment of delay, or under the long shadow of the words others once spoke over you. As it is written, nor do people light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on a stand, and it gives light to all in the house. Matthew 5:15. Do you see? The light I give is not only meant to warm you alone, but also so that through your life, other weary souls may recognize that there is still a way forward, still hope, still a Father calling them out of darkness. But my beloved child, that light cannot shine if you keep waiting for the day when you no longer tremble. Many have missed the season I opened before them, not because they were unloved, nor because I did not call, but because they believed obedience could only begin when every fear had disappeared. I do not require you to walk as one who is never weak. I invite you to walk as one who knows they are being held by the hand. There are doors of grace opened within an appointed season, and wisdom is not standing outside forever, analyzing the shape of the door, but recognizing my voice and stepping through in faith. Make the best use of the time, because the days are evil. Ephesians 5:16. Not so that you may run in panic after the world, but so that you may understand that the life given to you is holy, that each day is a seed and each moment is an opportunity to respond to what I am sowing in your soul. Perhaps you have often told your heart, when I am stronger. I will begin when I am more certain. I will step out when people understand me better. I will shine. But my child, if Moses had waited until he could speak fluently before becoming an instrument of deliverance for my people, the staff in his hand would have remained nothing more than a piece of wood in the wilderness. He once told me that he was slow of speech, hesitant in words, and full of limitations. But I said, "Who has made man's mouth?" Exodus 14:11. What I use is not always what you feel most confident in, but what you surrender in obedience. I do not need you to become a perfect image before I act through you. I only need you to stop burying yourself in the sand of doubt, to stop calling delay humility, and to stop mistaking fear for wisdom in the stillness that the world so often overlooks. I am still speaking to you. Do not think that my voice only comes through resounding events, signs that shake the sky, or circumstances that force everyone to pay attention. I once taught Elijah that my presence is not limited to the great wind, the earthquake, or the fire, but can come in a still small voice. 1 Kings 19:12. In the same way, there are times when I call you through a holy unease within your heart, through a longing to live more truthfully, through the loss of peace when you continue making yourself smaller. That is not meaningless instability. It may be my voice gently knocking on the inner door, reminding you that the old season has grown too narrow, that the old garment no longer fits, and that you cannot remain forever in the place I only meant for you to pass through. Remember Gideon, my beloved child. He was threshing wheat in a hidden place because he feared the Midianites, seeing himself through the lens of weakness, a small family, and an oppressed circumstance. But when my angel appeared to him, the first word was not a condemnation of his fear, but a call that awakened his true identity. The Lord is with you, mighty warrior. Judges 6:12. Do you see? I did not call Gideon according to the place where he was hiding, but according to what I had placed within him. I do not call you by the name of your failures, your silence, your years of avoidance, or the wounds that made you bow your head. I call you by the name I wrote upon your soul, before the world had a chance to define you. And when I call, my word has the power to raise up what you thought had fallen asleep. Therefore, do not wait until your life is free of every broken place before returning to what I have entrusted to you. The prodigal son did not rise in a palace, did not return in fine clothing, did not come to the Father with achievements neatly arranged. He rose amid the dust, amid lack, amid the shame of wrong choices, and with only one decision to return, the road opened before him. While he was still far away, the Father ran to him, embraced him, clothed him with a new robe, placed a ring on his hand, and restored his dignity. Luke 15:20-22. I want you to understand this deeply. Your beginning does not need to be decorated with perfection. Your beginning only needs a truthful heart, a turning of direction, a yes, even if it still tremble. My grace does not wait for you to be free of dust before embracing you. It is my embrace that restores you. There are some of my children who have allowed too much time to pass because they feared their light would make others uncomfortable, feared that their growth would cause someone to leave, feared that my calling would lead them onto a path that no longer fit the old patterns. But my beloved child, light does not apologize to darkness for shining. A flower does not apologize to spring for blooming. A river does not apologize to dry ground for flowing toward it. When I make you more alive, purer, and more courageous, that is not arrogance. It is obedience to the one who created you. Arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord has risen upon you. Isaiah 60:1. That word is not given so you may display yourself, but so you may stop living as though my glory within you is something that must be hidden. I know there are seasons when you wonder whether there is still time for you. You look back at the opportunities that have passed, the times you remained silent when you should have spoken, the days when you allowed fear to direct your steps, and you think perhaps you have arrived too late for my purpose. But my child, I am the one who can cause a dry staff to blossom, make streams flow in the wilderness, and turn years that were torn apart into fertile ground for a new harvest. What you must not do is continue sleeping in regret. Awake, O sleeper, and arise from the dead, and Christ will shine on you. Ephesians 5:14. That call does not come to shame you, but to lift you out of the slumber of delay and set your feet back upon the path of life. Now, let your heart soften before me. Do not resist the holy urging that is drawing you out of what is familiar. Do not love the cage simply because it once gave you the feeling of safety. I am not leading you out in order to abandon you in an empty space. I am leading you out so you may encounter a wider land in me. If you look only at your own strength, you will always find a reason to step back. But if you look to me, you will realize that the one who calls you is also the one who upholds you. The Lord will fulfill his purpose for me. Psalm 130:18-8. Therefore, my beloved child, rise not as one who has every answer, but as one who has heard the Father's voice. Walk not because you no longer feel afraid, but because my love is greater than that fear. Let the light within you be lifted high, so that what I do in you may become a gentle testimony to the world wherever I touch. Darkness no longer has the final word. My beloved child, lay down the burden of having to prove that you are worthy of being loved. For that is not the yoke I have placed upon your shoulders. I do not call you before me as a servant who must present a record of achievements. Nor do I look at you only through the times you have done right or done wrong, been strong or tender, stood firm or stumbled. My love for you is not a reward given after you have reached some standard, nor is it a gift bestowed only when you have repaired everything within yourself. It flows from me out of my holy, merciful, and eternal being. As it is written, we love because he first loved us. 1 John 4:19. Do you see? Before you knew how to respond, I already loved. Before you could name grace, grace had already come searching for you. Before you thought you had to become worthy, my love was already standing there, unchanged, unattracted, not waiting until you were perfect before embracing you. There were days when you lived as though your worth were something fragile that had to be protected by endless effort. You tried to do better in order to be accepted, tried to be stronger so you would not be looked down upon. You tried to hide the parts of you that were still tangled, because you feared that if someone saw them, they would leave. But my beloved, before me, you do not need to wear another face. I am not deceived by outward orderliness, yet neither am I driven away by the brokenness within. I know the real you, and it is that very real self whom I am calling near. The Lord does not see as man sees. Man looks at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. 1 Samuel 16:7. What I desire from you is not a flawless performance of holiness, but an open heart that dares to believe it is loved, even when it is not yet understood the full depth of that love. Do not confuse maturity with always being without fault. I am making you new, but I do not love you less while you are still being rebuilt. A child is not rejected by his father simply because he is learning to walk and falls many times. His father does not stand far away, counting every fall in order to condemn him. He reaches out his hand, lifts him up, encourages him to keep walking, and rejoices over every sign of life growing within him. So it is with me, my beloved. I do not rejoice because you are in pain, but I rejoice when you return. I do not wait for you to save yourself before drawing near. I myself draw near so that you may be saved, healed, and restored. Like the father in the story of the prodigal son, who, when he saw his son while he was still far off, ran to him, embraced him, and kissed him. Luke 15:20. I too do not stand with folded arms, waiting for you to prove that you meet the conditions for return. I run toward you with mercy before you can even finish saying your apology. If even now something within your heart is trembling, a quiet softening, a longing for something purer, a desire to return to a place where you no longer have to defend yourself, do not dismiss it as a passing emotion. It may be my very voice calling you in the hidden place. I do not call you with the harsh shout of coercion, nor do I pull you with the chains of fear, but with cords of kindness and bonds of love. As it is written, I drew them with cords of kindness, with bands of love. Hosea 11:6. My call may be very gentle, but it has the power to awaken the parts of you that have fallen asleep. It does not shame you because you have gone far away. It reminds you that home is still there. The Father is still there, and the arms of love have never been closed. And yet, my child, do not delay your response simply because you think there are still many things for which you are not ready. Prolonged hesitation can cause your soul to grow accustomed to the shadows, until even when the light stands near, you still feel reluctant to step into it. I do not say this to frighten you, but to awaken you from unnecessary confusion. Today, if you hear his voice, do not harden your hearts. Hebrews 3:15. Today is where grace is touching you. Today is the moment when you can turn your direction. Today is an open door for a sincere answer. Do not wait until every emotion is neatly arranged. Do not wait until you understand every reason. Do not wait until you can explain everything to everyone. When you hear my voice calling, wisdom is to return while your heart is still tender, to step forward while the light is still shining clearly before your eyes. Remember Zacchaeus, the man who climbed up into a sycamore tree to see Jesus as he was passing by. He was not a man honored by society. His life carried many stains in the eyes of others, but when Jesus looked up and called him by name, he did not begin with condemnation before the crowd. He said, "Zacchaeus, come down quickly, for today I must stay at your house." Luke 19:5. That one call opened the way for a transformation deeper than all the contempt that had ever surrounded him. Do you see? When I call a person by name, I am not merely pointing to their past. I am awakening the redeemed future within them. Zacchaeus responded at once, and from that response, a heart once bound tightly to gain was opened in repentance and restoration. That story tells you that no one is too far to be called. No one is too misunderstood to be seen. And no one is too entangled to be set free when my voice touches their heart. So do not continue standing outside my love like a stranger looking in through the window. You were not created merely to hear about grace, but to live within that grace. You were not called to keep analyzing whether you are worthy, because if my love were based on your worthiness, you would always waver. But my love is based on me, and therefore it is steadfast. Love never fails. 1 Corinthians 13:8. When you allow that truth to enter your heart, you will stop living by the fear of being cast aside. You will begin to pray, not as one who must persuade me to care, but as a child speaking with their father. You will begin to obey, not in order to purchase love, but because love has softened your heart. You will begin to change, not in despair, but in hope. I know there are parts within you that still ask, is this truly meant for me? Am I truly loved while I still have so many shortcomings? My beloved child, bring that question close to me. Do not hide it in the darkness. I do not reject the one who is learning to believe. I do not extinguish a smoldering wick, nor do I break a bruised reed. Isaiah 42:9-3. I know how to nurture a small faith until it grows. I know how to hold a fearful heart until it learns peace. I know how to cause a soul that has been conditioned by judgment to begin trusting in my unconditional love. What you need to do is not force yourself to become strong immediately, but open the door for me to enter every room within you, including the rooms you once locked because of pain. So, my beloved, stop chasing the shadow of worthiness. Stop weighing yourself on the scales of achievements, other people's reactions, or memories of the times you did not succeed. I am calling you back to the place where you truly belong, in my love, under my light, beside the Father's heart that never changes. The door of grace is open before you, not as a strange path, but as the doorway home. Step through it, not with the confidence of someone who has already fixed everything, but with the faith of one who knows they have been called by name. Today, while you still hear my voice, do not harden your heart. Return, open your heart. Let my love do what your striving could never do. Set you free from the need to prove yourself and teach you to live as a child who has already been loved from before all time. My beloved child, let your soul be still in this moment and hear me speak, not as a passing sound, but as a truth engraved into the deepest place of your life. My word is not the frail voice of mankind, here today and gone tomorrow, praised in the morning and forgotten by evening. My word is not shaken by seasons, does not change with emotions, does not bow before darkness, and is not faded by time. Heaven and earth may pass away, but my words will never pass away. Matthew 24:35. Therefore, when everything around you trembles, when your heart no longer knows where to lean, when the voices of this world leave you confused, return to what cannot be broken. My word, that word is not merely lines to be read with the eyes, but living breath entering the soul, light touching darkened rooms, a gentle yet irresistible power that can rebuild what has fallen apart and call life to rise in places where you thought only ashes remained. Many times you have searched for guidance in outward signs, in the approval of others, in the stability of circumstances, in the feeling that everything must be clear before you dare to take another step. But my child, there are nights when the path is not illuminated by the sun, but by the lamp I place in your hand. Your word is a lamp to my feet and a light to my path. Psalm 119 and 105. That lamp does not always reveal the entire long road ahead, but it is enough for you to see the next step, and sometimes this is precisely how I teach you to trust. Not by showing you everything, but by giving you enough light to walk step by step in my presence. When you allow my word to shine upon your choices, your thoughts, and the quiet turns of your heart, you will no longer be led by panic, nor will you be pulled away by the empty promises of the world. There are words you have heard from this life that wounded you, judgments that once clung to you like dust from the road, old memories that keep returning and trying to tell you that you cannot become different. But my word does not come merely to comfort the surface. My word goes deeper than every voice that has ever hurt you. As it is written, for the word of God is alive and active, sharper than any double-edged sword, piercing even to the division of soul and spirit, joints and marrow. Hebrews 4:12. Do you see? My word does not only touch what you speak aloud, it touches what you hide in secret. No fear is too deep, no wound too old, no confusion too complex for my light to enter. I do not use my word to crush you, but to separate from you the things that do not belong to life, lies from truth, fear from faith, shame from identity, darkness from the part of your soul that is loved and called by my name. Therefore, my beloved, do not merely stand far away and look at my word as though it were a treasure placed behind glass. That treasure has been given for you to take hold of, to keep, to consume, so that it may become life within the spiritual bloodstream of your being. The hungry are not filled by staring at bread, neither is the soul strengthened by hearing the word only briefly, and then letting the winds of life carry it away. When my son was tempted in the wilderness, he did not answer darkness with emotion, nor did he negotiate with deception through earthly reasoning, but declared, man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that comes from the mouth of God. Matthew 44. Learn this, my child. My word is not an added portion for your spare days. My word is nourishment for the day of trouble, cool water in a dry land, bread from heaven for the weary soul, the breath that helps you stand firm when everything outside tries to make you collapse. Remember Josiah, the young king who lived among a people who had long been distant from what was holy, in a place where the book of the law had been forgotten in the temple, as though the light had been covered with dust. But when that book was found and read before the king, his heart broke, and he tore his garments, not because of despair, but because my word had awakened holy reverence within him. 2 Kings 22:11. From a scroll that seemed forgotten, an entire reformation began. Do you see? Sometimes what changes a person's life is not a loud sign, but the moment my word is opened and a heart truly listens. There are places within you that have also been covered by the dust of time, parts of your faith that were once forgotten because of weariness. But when you return to the Word, I can cause a new awakening to rise, not noisy, but deep, not outwardly showy, but powerful enough to transform you from the very roots. And when the battle comes, do not step out empty-handed. I do not want you to live as one under attack without knowing that weapons have already been placed in your hands. There will be arrows of doubt aimed at your heart. There will be lies whispering that I have forgotten you. There will be waves of fear trying to paint the future as a land without grace. In those moments, do not remain silent and allow darkness to preach to your soul. Take up the sword of the Spirit, which is the Word of God. Ephesians 6:17. Not as an ornamental saying, but as a true weapon in your daily life. When condemnation says you are no longer loved, answer with the promise that nothing can separate you from my love in Christ. When fear says you will fall, stand upon my word that I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. When weakness says you are not enough, remember that my grace is sufficient for you. But my child, a weapon is of no help if it is forgotten in the corner of the room. My word must be hidden in your heart before the storm rises. It must be meditated upon while the day is still peaceful. It must be sown like a seed before you need its shade. David said, I have hidden your word in my heart that I might not sin against you. Psalm 119:11. To hide the word in your heart does not mean to store it away and forget it, but to place it at the center so that it guards your thoughts, shapes your desires, heals your reactions, and teaches you to recognize what comes from me and what is merely the noise of the flesh. When the word is within you, you will begin to hear differently, see differently, and choose differently. The temptations that once easily pulled you away will gradually lose their power. The fears that once ruled over you will have to bow before truth. The wounds that once determined how you loved, how you trusted, and how you walked will be patiently healed by my light. Please know that every seed you plant in this mission will grow into a torch that shines in someone else's darkness. Giving to this work through the link in the description or the pinned comment. Whether by buying a coffee, making a donation, or becoming a member of our Ko-Fi community, does not go to a channel. Your actions are supporting a divine mission to save lost souls. Heaven moves through willing voices, but it grows through hearts that are kind. This is what I say over you now. Each gift you give is like a stream of living water that flows into the life of someone who needs healing. Give, and it will be given to you is not just a verse for Jesus. It is a living promise that shapes your future. Allow me to invite you now with a simple act of faith. Come into this moment with purpose, with honesty, and with hope. The money you give today is not a donation. The act of spiritual obedience that lets your heavens open is what opens them. Let go of your seed and see what God brings back into your life. Do not be discouraged if at first you read and do not feel anything great. A seed sown into the ground does not immediately become a tall tree before the eyes of the one who planted it. Yet in the hidden place, life has already begun to move. So it is with my word. There are verses you read quietly today that tomorrow will become the strength that keeps you from a wrong decision. There are promises you remember today through tears that one day will become a song of victory upon your lips. There are truths you do not yet fully understand today. But when the season comes, the Holy Spirit will cause them to shine at the right time. My word that goes out from my mouth will not return to me empty, but will accomplish what I desire. Isaiah 55:11. Therefore, do not take lightly the moments when you sit with the Word. Do not despise the times when you open Scripture in weariness. Each time you are placing your soul beneath the rain of grace, and I am working more deeply than your emotions can measure. I want you to understand that my Word does not only guide you, my Word draws you back to me. For the final purpose of the Word is not merely that you would know more things, but that you would belong to me more deeply, love me more truly, and walk with me more closely. If you read the Word and your heart becomes proud, then you have not allowed the Word to go deep enough. If you read the Word only to use it to condemn others, then you have not heard the heartbeat of the Father. My Word is both sword and oil. It both exposes and binds up. It both corrects and embraces. It may wound you for a moment because it touches what needs to be healed. But that pain is the pain of one being set free, not of one being destroyed. All Scripture is God-breathed and is useful for teaching, rebuking, correcting, and training in righteousness. 2 Timothy 3:16. So that you would not keep wandering in immaturity but grow in light, truth, and love. So today, my beloved, return to the Word as one returns to a pure stream. After days of drinking the muddy waters of anxiety, open the Word not as a cold habit, but as a child opening a letter from their father. Read slowly, listen deeply, hold it firmly, and allow every line to soak into the places where you once allowed fear to dwell. When darkness speaks, let my word answer. When your heart wavers, let my word anchor you. When the road ahead is covered in mist, let my word become the lamp beneath your feet. I have not left you without guidance. I have not left you without a weapon. I have not left you hungry along the journey. My word is near you in your mouth and in your heart so that you may live by it, stand by it, and overcome by it. Take it up, my child. Consume it, meditate on it. Believe it and walk in it. For when my word is within you, you are no longer merely carrying a book in your hands. You are carrying the light of heaven within your soul. My beloved child, let your heart stand still in my peace, and hear this word as a gentle yet powerful trumpet sounding within your soul. Do not step back simply because your eyes have not yet seen the fullness of what I have promised. Do not be quick to let go just because the journey has lasted longer than you imagined. Do not allow darkness to use delay to persuade you that the promise has died. My word is not a set of lifeless lines resting on a page, nor is it an ancient voice belonging only to generations long past. My word is alive, carrying the breath of heaven with power to shatter lies, rebuild faith, strengthen weak knees, and teach weary hearts to hope again. As it is written, the grass withers and the flowers fall, but the word of our God endures forever. Isaiah 40:8. Therefore, when every emotion within you changes, when circumstances have not yet shifted, when people of this world tell you that you should give up, cling to what does not change. I have spoken, and my word will not return empty. There are battles you do not win by shouting louder, nor by exhausting yourself with effort, nor by explaining yourself to every opposing voice. There are battles that are won only when you stand still in truth and refuse to give lies a place inside the house of your soul. The enemy often does not come first with swords and spears, but with whispers that you have been forgotten, that you are not strong enough, that the promise is too far away, that your past has the right to determine your future. But my child, when you take hold of my word by faith, those whispers lose the ground beneath them. Resist the devil, and he will flee from you. James 4:7. Resistance is not always straining yourself in tension. Many times it is calmly telling your own heart, I belong to the Father. I stand upon the promise. I will not bow to any voice that contradicts his truth. Do not think you must create victory by your own strength. I do not call you into battle and then leave you standing alone in an open field. I go before you as the one who makes the way. I walk beside you as the one who upholds you. I stand behind you as a wall of fire protecting you, and I dwell within you as an unfailing source of strength. When you take one step in trust, that step is not lonely before me. I see every time you try to hold on to faith while your heart trembles, every time you choose prayer instead of panic, every time you refuse to return to the old path. Even though it feels more familiar, I have spoken. I will go before you and level the uneven places. I will break down gates of bronze and cut through bars of iron. Isaiah 45:2. Do you see? There are doors you do not have the strength to open by yourself, but no door is too strong for me to break when my appointed time has come. When what lies ahead is unclear, do not let that uncertainty become proof that I am absent. Many times, I do not show you the whole road, because I am teaching you to recognize my hand, not merely to recognize the map. The people of Israel stood before the Red Sea, with deep waters in front of them, enemies behind them, and every human reason, saying they had reached the end. But the place mankind calls a dead end, I call a doorway for glory. Moses said to the people, the Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still. Exodus 14:14. That stillness was not helpless passivity. It was faith learning to stop panicking long enough to see me act. And then the sea parted not before they came near, but when obedience met my power, my beloved. I also fed my people in the wilderness with manna from heaven, not storing up a lifetime supply for them in one day, but giving enough for each day so that they would learn. My faithfulness had not run out with yesterday's morning. I led them by a pillar of cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night, not because they knew the way, but because I knew the way. So do not be afraid when you do not yet understand this season. What you need is not to control every turn. What you need is to keep your heart close to me. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and do not lean on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make straight your paths. Proverbs 3:5-6. When you acknowledge me in uncertainty, you will discover that my guidance often comes step by step, but it is never pointed in the wrong direction. Remember Jehoshaphat, when a great army came against Judah. Faced with a force far beyond his ability, he did not pretend to be brave, nor did he rush into battle with empty arrogance. He stood before me with the people and said, "We do not know what to do, but our eyes are on you." 2 Chronicles 20:12. And I answered through the prophet that the battle was not theirs, but mine. The people went out with praise before them, and when they began to sing, I caused the enemy to collapse upon itself before they even had to swing a sword. Do you see? There are battles that are turned not by hands clenched in fear, but by eyes lifted in worship. When you do not know what to do, know where to look. When you no longer have an answer, still keep a song. When you have no strength left, let my presence become your strength. I am not the one who lives only in ancient stories for you to read and admire from afar. I am the Eternal One, the one who is with you in this very present moment. I still make a way where you cannot see a way. I still heal hearts bruised by life. I still call life back over dreams you thought had died, over faith you thought had gone out, over the parts of your soul you once closed because of pain. I, the Lord, do not change. Malachi 3:6. My power has not worn thin with the passing years. My mercy has not grown weak because of time. What I did at the Red Sea, in the wilderness, in the valley of battle, in the prison, and in the lion's den, I am still able to do in your life according to my wisdom and in my appointed season. Therefore, do not let the length of the road make you doubt the one who leads the way. Do not let temporary silence cause you to think I have forgotten your name. Do not let doors that have not yet opened lead you to conclude that there is no path forward. There are things I am preparing behind the curtain that your eyes have not yet been permitted to see. There are people I am arranging, circumstances I am shaping, and strength I am forming within you. Before what I have promised is revealed outwardly, a seed lying in the soil is not a seed buried in order to die, but one being covered so it may take root and grow. So it is with you. There are seasons when I hide you in stillness, not to abandon you, but so your roots may sink deeper into me. When the season comes, what I have planted will rise with a life that no human hand can hold back. So stand firm, my beloved. Stand firm, not with the hardness of the flesh, but with the tenderness that knows how to lean upon me. Stand firm, not because you never grow tired, but because when you are tired, you know how to rest upon the one who never wearies. Stand firm, not because you see everything, but because you know that I see everything. Let my word be in your mouth when darkness lies, in your heart when fear rises, beneath your feet when the road becomes uneven, and before your eyes when the promise has not yet taken form, and after you have done everything to stand. Ephesians 60:13. I am with you in that standing. I am lifting you, keeping you, leading you, and fighting for you. Do not let go. Do not turn back. Do not call the middle chapter the ending. What I have spoken is still alive, and as you continue to walk with me, you will see that my hand has never left your life. My beloved child, do not be afraid of the parts within you that still tremble, and do not rush to condemn yourself simply because you are not yet as strong as you once hoped to be. I do not look at you with the severe eyes of the world, nor do I measure you by the standard of those who only know how to honor outward steadiness. There are forms of true strength that do not begin with a shout of victory, but in the hidden room where a weary soul still dares to lift its eyes and say, Father, I am still here. I know the nights you have passed through. I know the times you had to smile while your heart was full of cracks. I know even the places within you that were wounded so deeply you thought you could never heal. But my child, the place you call weakness can become the very place where my grace dwells most deeply. As I have spoken, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. 2 Corinthians 12:99. So do not hide your wounds before me, as though they make you shameful. Bring them into the light. For in the very places once broken, I can cause new life to flow. There are paths that will not open before a heart that only wants safety, but they will open beneath the steps of one who dares to trust me more than their own fear. You often want to see the entire journey before you step forward, to have guarantees before you obey, to feel courageous before leaving what is familiar. But my beloved, faith is not waiting until the fog has completely lifted. Faith is taking hold of my hand in the midst of the fog and walking, because you know the one who leads you does not lose his way. The righteous will live by faith, Romans 1:17, and that life is not passive existence on the edge of the promise, but the rhythm of a soul that dares to answer the call, even while its feet still tremble. I have not called you to stand outside and look at miracles like a stranger. I have called you to step into the current of what I am doing, so that your very life may become a testimony that faith can bloom, even in places that were once dry and barren. Do not let the world name you by what it sees in one brief season. People may call you by your failure, by your past, by your delay, by the moments when you did not yet understand yourself. But I knew you before you knew how to explain yourself to anyone. I have called you not with the voice of judgment, but with everlasting love. I have called you by your name. You are mine. Isaiah 43:1. You are not a life overlooked in my hand. You are not a mistake of time, nor are you the leftover piece of a failed plan. You are a soul created with holy intention, covered in mercy, and called into a purpose greater than your present circumstances can explain. So when old memories return and try to whisper that you are unworthy, let my word rise higher than every one of those voices. You belong to me, and what belongs to me is not defined by the dust it has passed through. Therefore, my beloved, do not see trembling as proof that you have not been called. Many times, trembling only shows that you are standing before something greater than your own strength, and it is there that you learn. My power is not a distant idea, but a real strength that upholds you. If you only step into the things you can control by yourself, you will only encounter your own limits. But when you step into what I have spoken, you will encounter my faithfulness. I do not invite you to go alone, nor do I give you a journey and then stand far away as an observer. I go before you to make the way, beside you to comfort you, behind you to protect you, and within you to strengthen the places made weak by weariness. As it is written, the Lord himself goes before you and will be with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. Deuteronomy 31:8. So do not let fear become the master of your soul's house. Let faith open the door for my presence to enter and reign with peace. Perhaps you once thought that your scars made you less worthy than those who have never been broken, but I see differently. Scars placed in my hands are no longer signs of final failure. They can become evidence that you were kept, healed, and carried through things that should have made you give up. Look at the risen Christ. He did not hide the nail marks, but allowed Thomas to touch them and recognize that life had conquered death. John 20:27. My beloved, there are marks in your life that, when redeemed by me, will no longer make you bow your head, but will become places where others see hope. I am not looking for vessels that have never been cracked in order to display empty perfection. I am looking for earthen vessels willing to carry my treasure, so that this all-surpassing power is from God and not from us. 2 Corinthians 4:7. What once wounded you does not have to be the place where the story ends in my hands. It can become a window through which the light passes. Now what I am waiting for from you is not a bold declaration, nor a promise adorned with false confidence. I am only seeking an honest heart. Speak to me. Even in the smallest whisper, Father, I am willing. That willingness may still be mixed with tears, still laced with trembling, still unsure of what tomorrow will look like. But if it is true, I can use it as the seed of a new season. Samuel of old was only a child in the temple, not yet accustomed to discerning my voice, but when he was instructed, he answered, Speak, for your servant is listening. 1 Samuel 30:10. From that simple response, a prophetic life was opened. So it is with you. Many times, great change does not begin with thunder, but with a small answer in the hidden place. When you stop running away and allow your soul to turn toward me. Do not think that I only work through those who are always certain, always calm, always knowing what they must do. If you look closely at those I have called, you will see many hearts that once feared, doubted, and felt they were not enough. But what made them different was not that they had no weakness. What made them different was that they did not allow weakness to become a throne. They brought it before me, and I turned their lack into a place where grace could be revealed. So stop fighting alone to prove that you are worthy. Stop trying to hide your humanity before the one who has known you from your mother's womb. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Jeremiah 1:15. I am not surprised by your limits. I do not withdraw my calling because you have weary days. What I began is not founded upon your perfection, but upon my faithfulness. Therefore, when fear stands before you like a wall, remember that it does not have the final word. When the judgments of people try to force you back into the old garment, remember that you have been clothed with a new identity in me. When the past presents evidence to condemn you, remember that the blood of grace has spoken a higher word. You do not step into the future by earthly strength, but by holy companionship. Let every small step become a living prayer. Every time you rise again become a testimony. Every moment you believe a little more become a lamp lit in the night. I am with you in this journey. I do not merely call you into a broader place. As this awakening grows inside you, know that helping with this mission is not a joke. It is a sign from God. You can support this work through the link in the description or the pinned comment. Whether by buying a coffee, making a donation, or becoming a member of our Ko-Fi community. By doing so, you become part of Jesus' plan to save souls who are still stuck in fog. Every seed turns into light that fights against darkness. If you water others, you will be watered yourself, Jesus says. This is not history. It is a living promise about your future. Come into this moment with faith and a plan. What God has already planned for your life can be unlocked through your giving. I will teach you to breathe in that spacious place, to stand firm in that light, and to live as one who is loved, chosen, and kept. Walk forward, my beloved, not because you are no longer weak, but because I am strong enough within you, my beloved child. Let your heart stop shrinking before the fear of lack. For you were not created to live as a soul that must always compete for every fragment of peace, every opportunity, and every assurance for tomorrow. I have not called you to walk through this life like an orphan child who must protect themselves against every change. You belong to me, and that means your life has not been left to chance, is not ruled by the harsh hand of circumstance, and is not forgotten in the seasons when you do not know how to manage before a request is formed upon your lips. I already know what your heart needs, as it is written, your Father knows what you need before you ask him. Matthew 6:8. Therefore, do not think that I only begin to care when you pray beautifully enough, long enough, or correctly enough. I saw you before you called. I heard the sigh. You did not know how to turn into words. I have prepared supports that your eyes have not yet seen. There are days when you think you must run faster, hold tighter, calculate more carefully, and defend yourself more intensely, as though everything will disappear from your hands if you loosen your grip even a little. But my child, life is not preserved by hands clenched in panic. Life is anchored in my hand. Look at the birds of the air. They do not sow or reap or store away in barns, yet your heavenly Father feeds them. And look at the lilies of the field. They do not labor or spin, yet they are clothed with beauty that even Solomon in all his glory could not equal. Matthew 6:26-29. I do not say this to teach you indifference toward responsibility, but so you may know that responsibility does not need to be carried in a spirit of turmoil. If I care for what is small, fragile, and passing within creation, how could I not care for you, the child I have called by name, loved and placed within my plan? Do not let fear turn you into someone who lives tomorrow in the exhaustion of today. Tomorrow has not yet come to you, but it is not unfamiliar to me. I have already been present there before you step into it. I know which door will open, which source will flow, who will be sent, and what must close so that a holier path may be revealed. You do not need to carry seasons that have not yet arrived upon shoulders already weary from today. Therefore, do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Matthew 6:34. That word is not an invitation to live carelessly, but an invitation to live in the order of peace. Do your part today with faithfulness, and leave what belongs to tomorrow in the hands of the one who never sleeps. When you surrender the burdens that were never assigned to you, your soul will begin to breathe in the freedom I have prepared for you. The wilderness, my beloved, is not proof that you have been abandoned by me many times. The wilderness is a holy classroom where I remove false supports from you in order to teach you who your true source is. In the place where there are not many things to cling to, you learn to cling to me. In the dry land, you learn that life does not come only from what the eyes can see, but from the one who speaks and brings it to pass. The people of Israel once passed through the wilderness, and I fed them with manna every morning, not giving them excess so they could proudly store it up in fear, but giving them enough so they could learn the rhythm of daily trust. Exodus 16:4. Do you see? Sometimes I do not give you every answer at once, because I want you to know that my faithfulness is the true supply, not the amount you are holding in your hands. What I give today is enough for today, and what you need tomorrow will meet tomorrow's grace. You may be looking at closed doors and thinking they mean the end, but I see other doors you have not yet seen. I know the path beyond the rock, the stream beneath the desert floor, the jar of oil that can continue to flow as long as faith remains open. I am the one who says, "See, I am doing a new thing now. It springs up. Do you not perceive it? I will make a way in the wilderness and rivers in the desert." Isaiah 43:19. Do not measure my power by the map you currently possess. Do not limit my provision to familiar roads. When an old path closes, it does not mean I have run out of ways. There are seasons when I close what you once leaned upon, not to leave you lacking, but to lead you into a supply that is purer, truer, and more peaceful, one that comes from my hand and not from your striving. Remember the widow of Zarephath in the days of famine. She had only a handful of flour in a jar and a little oil in a jug, and she thought it would be the last meal for herself and her son. But through the prophet Elijah, I invited her into an act of trust at the very moment when lack was shouting the loudest. And when she obeyed, the jar of flour was not used up, and the jug of oil did not run dry, according to the word I had spoken. 1 Kings 17:14-16. That story is not meant to make you fear that I will take away your final portion. It is meant to help you understand that when what is small is placed in my hands, it is no longer limited by human calculation. I can make what you thought was not enough become the place where my sufficiency is revealed. I can feed you not only through the source you can see, but through the source my word commands to exist. So do not let your present lack prophecy falsely over your future. Do not let your account, your circumstances, delayed opportunities, or the emptiness in your hands make you conclude that I am not caring for you. There are things you call lack that I am using to deepen faith. There are things you call delay that I am using to prepare the right season. There are things you call loss that I am using to cut you free from dependence on wells that cannot hold water. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Psalm 23:1. That word does not mean you will always have everything you want immediately, but it does mean that in me you will not lack what is needed to keep walking according to my holy will. The one who has me as shepherd may not always understand where the pasture is, but will always be led to where they need to go. Learn to rest, my child, not as one who gives up, but as one who places the burden where it belongs. Rest does not mean denying reality. Rest means looking directly at reality and still knowing that I am greater than it. Give me every anxiety that has taken up space in your chest, every matter you have turned over again and again without being able to calm it, every question that makes your nights longer. Cast all your anxiety on him because he cares for you. 1 Peter 5:7. You do not need to bring your worries to me in a polished form. Bring them as they are, tangled, heavy, unresolved. I do not rebuke the weary child who returns to the Father's arms. I do not push you away because you still tremble. I receive what you were never created to carry alone. And once you have surrendered it, do not secretly pick the burden back up, simply because your heart is accustomed to tension. Some have lived so long in anxiety that peace feels unfamiliar to them. But I am teaching you another rhythm of life, to work with faithfulness, to pray with honesty, to wait in trust, and to sleep in my care like a child resting in the arms of their father, not knowing the whole way home, not understanding all the things the Father has prepared, yet knowing they are being carried. You too can rest in me. I have calmed and quieted my soul like a weaned child with its mother. Psalm 131:2. This is holy maturity, not knowing how to control everything, but being able to rest, because you are held by the one who reigns over all things. Therefore, today, my beloved, stop living as though provision only comes when you have become perfect enough to deserve it. I am a father, not a merchant of grace. I do not care for you because you have proven your worth. I care for you because you are my child. Step into the new day with open hands, not to grasp and compete, but to receive and offer back. Do the part entrusted to you, but do not let work become an idol. Save, prepare, and walk wisely. But do not let preparation turn into a fortress of fear. Remember that your source is not one door, one person, one position, or one favorable season. Your source is me. And when I am the source, even the wilderness can become a place of springs. Even a small table can become sufficient. And even an unclear tomorrow can be entered with peace. I have seen you. I know what you need. I am already before you. Rest in my love, and let your heart learn again this simple, yet powerful truth. Your Father will take care of you. My beloved child, there are moments in your life when it feels as though all strength has slipped from your hands. When your feet no longer want to take another step. When your mind grows dim beneath unanswered questions. When your heart seems to beat only in quiet exhaustion. You look around and think you have reached the very end, a place where no one truly understands, no one truly hears, and no one truly remains long enough to see what is breaking open inside you. But my child, precisely in the place you call your final limit, I am not absent. I do not stand far above merely watching you endure, nor do I come with a voice of rebuke, because you have grown weak. I draw near like a father bending down beside his exhausted child, placing my hand upon your shoulder, covering the trembling places within you with my presence. As it is written, the Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. Psalm 34:18. Your pain does not push me away. Rather, it becomes the very place where I come near tenderly, gently, and faithfully. Perhaps you have grown used to thinking that you are only loved when you are strong, only accepted when you know how to stand firm, only kept by others when you do not trouble them with wounds that have not yet healed. But my love is not like the love of the world, my beloved. I do not love you less on the days when you cannot smile. I do not see you as a burden when your soul is exhausted. I do not withdraw mercy when you no longer have enough words to pray. There are sighs you think no one hears, but the Holy Spirit has brought them before me with intercessions deeper than human speech. The Spirit also helps us in our weakness, for we do not know what we ought to pray for. Romans 8:26. When your lips are silent because of pain, heaven is still not silent concerning you. When you no longer know what to say, I still understand what your tears are speaking. Do not think that the nights when you cried alone fell into some cold emptiness. Not one of your tears has been taken lightly by me. Not one of your sorrows has been mistaken as meaningless weakness. People may forget, may fail to see, may pass by your sadness because they are occupied with their own noise. But I do not. You have kept count of my wanderings. Put my tears in your bottle. Psalm 50:68. Do you see? What you thought had dissolved into the darkness has been kept by me in holy remembrance. I do not gather your tears to remind you of pain, but so you may know that everything you have endured has passed before my eyes, and not one moment of that journey has been overlooked by the Father's mercy. Remember Hagar in the wilderness, when she was driven into a place of loneliness, carrying fear, humiliation, and a child who was thirsting near death. She placed the boy under a bush and sat at a distance, weeping because she could not bear to watch her child fade away before her eyes. But in that desolate place, I heard the voice of the child. Open Hagar's eyes so she could see the well of water nearby. and she called me the God who sees me. Genesis 16:13, 2:17-19. My beloved, that story does not belong only to a mother in an ancient wilderness. It speaks to you that I see the forgotten, hear the cry in places where no one comes, and open a source of life in the very land where you thought only despair remained. Perhaps your well has not yet appeared, because your eyes are blurred with tears, but I can still open your eyes at the right time to see what I have prepared. I know there are sorrows that make no loud sound. They do not shake the room, do not cause others to stop, and do not have a clear shape that makes them easy for you to explain. They simply lie quietly within your heart, making ordinary tasks feel heavy, making a day feel longer, making even silence echo with loneliness. But my child, quiet pain is not invisible before me. He heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds. Psalm 147:3. I do not hurry you to stand up while you are still bleeding. I do not treat healing as a cold command. I come like oil poured upon a wound, like a hand bandaging every torn place, like a light that does not blind the eyes, but slowly drives out the darkness from a room that has been closed for far too long. There are times when you ask within your heart, why do I have to go through this? Why have I prayed and still remained in pain? Why have I tried to be strong and still fallen apart? My beloved child, not every sorrow has an immediate answer in the very moment you are enduring it, but nothing you place in my hands is ever wasted. I am not the one who creates evil in order to torment you, but I am the one who has the power to enter the place where evil has wounded you and turn it into soil for restoration, into a place where your heart learns the depth of grace. All things work together for the good of those who love God. Romans 8:28. That word does not mean that all things are good, but it means that I am powerful enough not to let pain have the final word over your life. What once made you weep can, in my hands, become the place where you come to know deeper mercy, truer gentleness, and a faith no longer as fragile as before. Therefore, when you see yourself as weak, do not quickly conclude that you are failing. There are seasons when the soul needs to be carried more than pushed. There are days when you do not need to climb any mountain at all. You only need to let me be with you in the valley. David did not say that he went around the valley of the shadow of death, but he said, even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Psalm 23:4. My presence does not always erase the valley immediately, but it makes the valley no longer a place where you are swallowed alone. When I am with you, the shadow of death cannot become your home. It is only a place you pass through, even if slowly, even if trembling, even if you must lean on my rod and my staff with every step. I do not demand that you call your pain light when it is truly heavy. I do not tell you to pretend to be at peace while a storm still rages within. Truth before me does not drive me away from you. Truth opens the way for me to heal you. Come to me with exactly what you have: a tired heart, a small faith, a broken prayer, a cry that has not yet become words. I have spoken. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Matthew 11:28. You do not need to dry your tears before you come. Come while your tears are still falling. You do not need to make yourself strong before leaning on me. Lean on me while you are still weak. For the Father's arms are not only for the day you overcome. Those arms are also for the night when you think you cannot bear anymore. One day you will look back and recognize that I was in the places where you once thought there was only silence. I sat with you in the dark room. I kept your heart from shattering completely. I placed people, words of comfort, and small moments of light at exactly the time you needed them. I did not leave when you could no longer feel me. For my love does not depend on your ability to recognize it in every moment. I will never leave you nor forsake you. Hebrews 13:5. That promise is not fragile. You are about to enter your divine future. Remember that this message does not end with you. People can use your breakthrough to get where they need to go through the link in the description or the pinned comment. Whether by buying a coffee, making a donation, or becoming a member of our Ko-Fi community, you can help this mission. By doing so, you are sowing into the awakening, deliverance, and restoration of souls who are still trapped in darkness. This is not poetry when Jesus says, "Give, and heaven will open over you." Every seed you plant turns into oil for your destiny, fire for your calling, and safety for your family. Now is your time, my child. Have faith, and as you do, watch God multiply what you let go of. It is the ground beneath your feet. When everything else collapses, it is the Father's voice speaking in the darkness. You are still being held, still being loved, still not alone. So my beloved, let your soul rest for a little while in my presence. Do not force yourself to understand everything today. Do not condemn yourself because you are tired. Do not be ashamed because you need to be lifted up. Let me wipe your tears. Not as one erasing your story, but as the one sanctifying it with mercy. He will wipe every tear from their eyes. Revelation 21. For is not only a promise for the final day, but also a fragrance of the comfort I give even in the middle of the journey. I am nearer to you than you feel, gentler than you imagine, and more patient than you dare to hope. Your pain does not exclude you from my love. Within that very pain, you will discover a Father who does not flee from your brokenness, but enters in, remains, holds you close, and little by little brings you back to life in His light. There were years when you tried to make yourself smaller just to remain at peace. Tried to speak less so you would not be misunderstood. Tried to smile according to the patterns of others so you would not be left behind. But my child, true peace does not come from losing yourself in order to fit into every room. True peace comes when you stand rightly in me. Even when not everyone understands the light I have placed within you. That flame was not given so you could boast in yourself, nor so you could exalt yourself by your own strength. It is the life of purpose, the reminder that you are called to reflect what belongs to me. Therefore, be careful not to let weariness, judgment, comparison, or fear cover with ashes what I have kindled. Do not quench the Spirit. 1 Thessalonians 501:19. That word is not only a warning, but also an invitation to return to the true source of fire, where I breathe new life into the places you thought had grown cold. Do not think the flame within you has died simply because there was a season when it no longer burned as brightly as before. There are holy embers, still glowing beneath the ashes of disappointment, delay, and the days when you had to live in noise for so long that you forgot the sound of your own heart. I do not come to rebuke you because you are tired. I come to breathe life again. When I touch what I have placed within you, it does not return as a chaotic fire of the self, but as a purified light, stronger because it has passed through trial, cleaner because it has been separated from the need to prove itself, clearer, because you no longer live to please every voice outside of me. The spirit of man is the lamp of the Lord, searching all the innermost parts of his being. Proverbs 20:27. And when that lamp is kept by me, no darkness has the right to declare that your light has run out. So pause for a moment, my child. Do not let the days pass in such haste that you can no longer hear the music I placed within your soul from the beginning. The world has many sounds that know how to imitate truth: the sound of success, the sound of comparison, the sound of fear of being left behind, the sound of expectations that do not carry my breath. But beneath all those sounds, there is still a deeper melody resounding. It is the call of your true identity, the call of a child who is loved, chosen, known, and led. My sheep hear my voice. I know them and they follow me. John 10:27. You do not need to chase every calling in order to prove that your life has meaning. You only need to learn again how to recognize my voice. Because when you hear the right voice, you will walk the right path. Perhaps you once thought you had to become someone else before you could be used, before you could be loved, before you could step into what I have prepared for you. But my beloved, I did not create you and then require you to become another person in order to be worthy of the calling. I do not want you to lose the colors I have placed within you in order to wear a garment borrowed from someone else. Humility is not denying what I have given. Humility is recognizing that every good thing within you comes from me, and then using it with a pure heart. Each of you should use whatever gift you have received to serve others as faithful stewards of God's grace in its various forms. 1 Peter 40:10. Your gift was not given so you would hide it in fear, nor so you would hold it in pride. It was given to become a flow of life, love, healing, and light. I know there are words that once made you doubt your own flame. Some people did not understand, so they belittled what you carried. Some saw only one season of weakness and called it the whole of you. Some were accustomed to the smaller version of you, so when you began to stand upright, they found it unfamiliar. But do not let the discomfort of others become a prison for your obedience. David was despised by his brother when he came to the battlefield, doubted by Saul because he was young, and mocked by Goliath because he did not look like a warrior. But I did not need him to wear another man's armor in order to win. I used the familiar sling in his hand and the faith forged in the pasture. 1 Samuel 17:38-4. So it is with you. Do not despise what I have formed in the hidden place. Do not think you must resemble someone else before you can step into your own battle. Now I invite you to return to the original truth in me. Returning does not mean going back to the old self that has not been transformed, but returning to the holy origin of your identity, where you no longer live behind masks, no longer beg the world for permission to exist, and no longer apologize for the light I have placed within you. Let me touch the deepest place, where the music is still playing even though it has been drowned out many times. Let me remove the dust of the years when you tried to please everyone. Let me separate within you what comes from me from what only comes from fear. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. 2 Corinthians 3:17. That freedom does not make you rebel in the flesh. It causes you to stand in truth, gentle, yet no longer chained by the approval of mankind. Therefore, my beloved, do not quench what I am rekindling within you. Do not make the calling smaller simply because it makes you different. Do not bury the gift simply because someone once failed to value it. Do not forget your first love simply, because the journey has carried seasons of weariness. Return to me, and I will breathe new life into that flame. Listen, and you will recognize that you do not need to become anyone else. You only need to become yourself in me. More genuine, brighter, purer, more courageous, softer, and more alive. I am the one who sang the first melody over your soul. I am the one who lit the fire before you knew how to name it. And I am still here not to let what belongs to me be extinguished, but to cause it to burn in the right season, in the right way, for the right purpose, until your life becomes a quiet song, recognized by heaven and impossible for darkness to silence. My beloved child, I know you in a place deeper than anything you try to present to the world. I do not only see the face you bring outside, the answers you use to hide your weariness, or the appearance of strength you have learned in order to survive in life. I look into the purest part within you, where there is still a holy memory of me, where your soul still recognizes the Father's voice, even though noise has sometimes made it feel unfamiliar. Perhaps you have tried to forget, tried to move on as though that calling belonged only to the past. But my child, what I have placed within you is not easily erased by time, disappointment, or mistakes. That flame may be covered with ashes. It may burn quietly beneath layers of exhaustion. It may no longer blaze as it did in the first season. But it has never been abandoned by me. As it is written, God's gifts and His call are irrevocable. Romans 11:29. What I have spoken over your life is not canceled by one season of wandering. What I have sown into your soul is still there, waiting for my breath to pass over it and bring it back to life at the right time. So do not let the distorted versions that the world has placed upon you become your true name. Some people only saw you in weakness and thought that was the whole of you. Some met you in a season of brokenness and framed you by that very wound. Some repeat old failures, as though they have the right to determine all the days that have not yet come. But I do not call you as mankind calls you. I do not define you by what you have passed through, but by what I have placed within you. I have called you by your name. You are mine. Isaiah 43:1. When I call your name, I am not calling a shadow swallowed by the past. I am calling a beloved child chosen, known, and created with a holy purpose. Let my word become the voice louder than every word that ever made you bow your head. There are gentle reminders within your heart that do not come from passing emotion. When in the middle of gray days, you suddenly hear a whisper saying that you cannot keep living like someone who has no hope left. When in the midst of self-condemnation, something deep within you still says that you are not a mistake. When in your weariness, your heart still trembles softly at the thought that I am not finished with you. Then recognize this. It is I calling you back to the truth. I do not always speak through thunder. Many times I speak with a gentleness that is enough not to frighten you, yet deep enough to awaken you. After the earthquake came a fire, but the Lord was not in the fire. And after the fire came a gentle whisper. 1 Kings 19:12. That voice is still seeking the place within you that has not been numbed by pain, the place that still has the capacity to believe, the place that still remembers the light. I know you have grown tired from having to discern between my voice and the voice of fear. But you can learn again day by day, breath by breath. Each time you place your thoughts beneath the light of my word, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Romans 12:2. That renewal does not happen in one moment and then end. It comes like dawn, slowly spreading over a land once covered by night. Every time you choose to believe what I have spoken, instead of what pain has concluded, a part of you becomes free. Every time you refuse to call yourself by the name of failure, a chain falls away. Every time you return to the Word, you are allowing me to tune the sound within you back to the original melody I sang over your soul. Therefore, my beloved child, return to the truth about who you are in me. Do not stand too long before the distorted mirror of the world. Do not ask darkness whether you are worthy to shine. Do not ask the past for permission to have a future. I know you. I call you. I keep what I have placed within you. That flame has not gone out. That gift has not been withdrawn. That calling has not been erased from heaven. Let me breathe upon the ashes so life may rise again. Let me speak over the lies so truth may take back its throne in your heart. Let me touch your identity so you no longer live as one who has been distorted, but as a child who has been restored. When you cling to the truth, lies will lose their power. When you remain in me, you will no longer need to prove who you are. You only need to live from the place where you already belong, in love, in the promise, and in the light that darkness can never swallow.